Today we are going to talk no complies in Skate. We're going to talk about the default no comply, and then we're going to talk about some variations of that default no comply. And then from there, we're going to move on to nollie and fakie no complies, which you can do in this game. Currently, it might change. And then last, we're going to talk about an exploit that lets you do a no comply no other way that you can in game currently. So first we need to check our settings. So open your start menu, go to settings, go to gameplay, and go to trick toggles, and then dance on down to no comply and make sure this is turned on. Then go one more down, go to quick ollie, and make sure this is turned on. So a quick ollie is when you pull down on the right stick and let go. It's going to do this baby pop little ollie. And then no comply, you push with your front foot, and then you immediately ollie right after that. And you can do that with the quick ollie. That's how I do everything you're going to see in this video. I don't do a normal ollie with them. I think you can kind of do that motion, but I find it much more quick to do it with the quick ollie. That's the only two things we need right now. So this is what a quick ollie looks like in game. You can see I'm just pulling straight down on the right stick here, just like this. And you do this little baby pop. For me, I push with my front foot in regular stance with the X button. However, everyone may have different settings, so I'm not going to tell you to push with a specific button in this tutorial. I'm just going to say push with your front foot. It is up to you to figure out what button pushes with what foot. Always push with your front foot, and that goes both in your default stance and in your switch stance, which for me right here is goofy. Your button will change. So as far as I know, there could be another setting where it's the same no matter what stance you're in. But for me, in goofy, I push with A, and then in regular, I push with X to do a front foot push for both of those things. If I combine a front foot push and a quick ollie, it looks like that. I do a 180 no comply. And unfortunately, that's currently just how the game is. They don't have a straightforward no comply. You're always going to do a 180, even if you're in goofy, even if you're in regular. No matter your stance, it's always going to automatically do a 180. So you can see here, when I'm doing no complies, I hold my pointer finger on the X and A button like this, like a claw kind of thing. And I just do them in this like one very quick motion like that, and it works every time. You can, you know, when I'm playing most of the time, I'm holding my controller like this, and you can take your thumb off and do that motion, but as you can see, I am not consistent with it. So with the claw, I can do it 100% of the time. I don't know if that's something with the game mechanics or if I'm just bad at the normal way, but I have to do it like this. And you can see I do it every time. When you see me do a no comply, that's what I'm doing. You just do that. You push with your front foot, you quick ollie, you do a 180 no comply. So what if you don't want to do a 180 no comply? Well, you can cancel that spin by holding the left stick in the opposite direction after you do the no comply input. So do the input and then hold the left stick, and you will do a straight on no comply. You know, if you're in your non-default stance, you do the same thing, just hold it in the opposite direction after you do the no comply input. So what happens if you spin in the same direction? Well, you do a 360. So hold the left stick in the direction that your character spins, you do a 360. What happens if you hold it in the opposite direction before you input the no comply? You'll do a backside 180 no comply. So for that one, you got to let it go as soon as you pop the no comply. So you're holding it before you pop the no comply, and then you let go and you'll do a 180. And you can see I overspun that one. Like, you have to be pretty quick. But if you just keep holding that, you'll do a backside 360 no comply. And all of these inputs work in both stances. You just, again, have to change which button you're pushing for your front foot. And that's a no comply. You can do those onto ledges, up curbs. You can do all kinds of stuff with these and like spice up your tricks and just do tons of combinations that look pretty unique. I don't overuse them. You know, too much of a good thing is not always a good thing. So yeah, that covers that. That's a normal no comply. I hope that helped. Let's move on to the nollie and the fakie no complies. So this is a little bit of an advanced tip here. So first, open your settings again. We're gonna go to settings, gameplay, controls, and we're gonna scroll down to hold fakie stance. So make sure this is turned on. When rolling backwards, stay in a fakie stance until you push. And so what that means, I'm in my regular stance. If I just do a 180, you can see that my feet are in a fakie position. If I do an ollie, it's a fakie ollie. If I do a nollie, it's a switch ollie. This is basically my other switch stance though, like when I was in Goofy. So if I do the same button inputs, for me was A and then a quick ollie, I do a fakie 180, no comply. So now you can see I'm in my regular stance, but I'm in a nollie position. So if I do X and a quick ollie, I do a nollie 180, no comply. It's that easy. So just make sure you're in that fakie stance, that true switch. Use the same buttons you would if you were in Goofy or regular. And then you can do like, you know, 360 ones. You can do your canceled ones to keep it straight on. You can do it in nollie like that. Yeah, just have fun with those. We're starting to get into a place where it's like confusing to tell you what direction to hold to do what. So you really have to explore these yourself. You can do 360s, 180, you can do the standard one. One unique thing about these no complies, let's just say I'm here in my regular stance and I cancel a no comply to do a straight on one. You can see now I'm in this nollie stance. It doesn't keep me in regular. So that's kind of a weird thing that happens with these. To get out of it, in the instructions, it says to just push. So you can do that. And if you do it really quickly, like do the canceled no comply and then immediately hit A or X, you get out of that pretty fast. But you can also use it to your advantage and start skating in that fakie stance kind of animation. And then, you know, you can use it to get into that, to do nollie stuff, you know, like that. If you notice yourself riding the wrong direction, just hit the push button to get out of it. So yeah, I hope that explains the kind of true switch fakie stance thing that's going on. I keep calling it true switch because that's what we called it back in the day. But if you're unfamiliar with that setting, when I ride in regular and I do a 180, I get into that. And then if I do nollie motions, I get switch flips. If I do ollie motions, I can get a fakie flip like that, and so on and so forth, you know. Spice them up with some no complies though. There you go. The last thing we're going to talk about is the exploit no comply. So if we go up to a curb, and then we're going to change a setting first though. So go to your settings, go to gameplay, go to assists, and scroll down to auto curb pop and make sure this is on. I keep this off all the time unless I'm doing this specific trick, and then I turn it on. And the reason for that is because auto curb pop pops you up curbs automatically, and I find it sometimes messes with my slappies, so I keep it off. So you saw the auto curb hop. If you ride up to a curb very, very slowly, you won't auto pop up it. So if you do that at slow speed, and then you do a no comply at the very last second, you will do a straight on no comply like that. Pretty crazy. I don't know why that's in the game. I guess it's just canceling the 180 animation maybe. I imagine it's gonna get fixed, or maybe some developer who's just super real put it in there for us to have until they get the straight on ones in the game. I don't know, but that's pretty cool. What I really like about these is you can kind of spice up your lines. Like you might be thinking like, oh, I'm not gonna use that up a curb, like, and I'm gonna go so slow. But like on some spots, it does just kind of work. Like if you want to do some sort of like manual stuff like that, you can tic tac and like, you know, ollie onto some ledges or whatever. You can do some fun stuff with it. And then of course, you know, you've got your standard no comply stuff to mess around with. Oh my goodness. Did our foot touch it? Oh, it kind of did. Into the 50-50. All right, y'all. Well, that about covers it. We just did a few tricks there. We went over the no complies. I hope that helped a lot. I will see you in the next video. Thanks. Peace.